Hello there, and welcome to this episode of Last Week Tonight, where we delve into the captivating world of traffic laws. Look, I know what you're thinking. John, I'd rather watch paint dry. But trust me on this one, folks. This isn't just any traffic violation, it's a full-blown legal showdown between New York City and the ghost of administrations past. That's right, folks, it's Adams versus Trump, round one, in the battle for the soul of Manhattan's streets. Now, you might be wondering how we got here. Well, picture this. It's a beautiful day in New York City. The birds are singing, the rats are doing whatever rats do, and the traffic is absolutely abysmal, as always. Enter congestion pricing, a bold plan to charge drivers entering Manhattan below 60th Street. It's a plan designed to ease congestion and raise funds for the beleaguered subway system, but not everyone's happy about it. In one corner, we have former President Trump, a man who knows a thing or two about traffic jams, mostly because he seems to cause them wherever he goes. He hates congestion pricing, calling it a war on cars, because apparently, walking is for communists. And in the other corner, we have Mayor Eric Adams, who, despite his initial reluctance to criticize Trump, has decided to take a stand and fight for the right to charge you money to sit in traffic. It's a classic tale of David versus Goliath, if David were a city government, and Goliath were a reality TV star with a penchant for tweeting in all caps. So what exactly is happening? Well, the Metropolitan Transportation Authority, the folks who run the subways and buses, got so fed up with the Trump administration's attempts to kill congestion pricing that they decided to sue. They filed their lawsuit way back in February 2025, and guess what? The Adams administration, after much hemming and hawing, finally decided to join the party in April. Now, this is where things get interesting. The lawsuit argues that the Trump administration's attempts to block congestion pricing are about as legal as a $3 bill. They claim that the president doesn't have the authority to just waltz in and overturn a plan that's been years in the making. It's like trying to stop a runaway train by standing in front of it and yelling, "No thank you, train! I prefer to walk." The lawsuit is still ongoing, but one thing's for sure, this is about more than just traffic. It's a battle of wills, a clash of ideologies, and a reminder that in New York City the only thing more congested than the streets is the political landscape. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, or rather the thousands of cars stuck in the Holland Tunnel congestion pricing. It's a simple idea, really. Charge people money to drive into the busiest parts of Manhattan, and use that money to improve public transportation. Think of it as a sin tax, but instead of discouraging smoking, it discourages sitting in your car, honking furiously at the taxi driver in front of you who's clearly lost. And you know what? It seems to be working. Since congestion pricing went into effect, traffic in Manhattan has dropped by a noticeable amount. That's thousands fewer cars clogging up the streets every day, spewing out exhaust and testing the patience of everyone within a 5-block radius. Plus, the money raised from the tolls is being used to upgrade the subway system, which, let's be honest, could use all the help it can get. Of course, not everyone's convinced. Some people argue that it's unfair to charge people to drive into Manhattan, especially those who can't afford it. But supporters argue that it's all about changing behavior, encouraging people to use public transportation or, heaven forbid, walk or bike. They say it's about time we stop treating cars like they're more important than people, and started prioritizing clean air, efficient transportation, and maybe even a little peace and quiet. So where does Mayor Adams stand in all of this? Well, it's complicated. You see, Adams is a man who likes to be liked. He's a bit like that friend we all have who tries to be friends with everyone, even if those friends secretly hate each other. He's been hesitant to criticize Trump directly, even though Trump's policies are about as popular in New York City as a Yankees fan at a Red Sox game. Some say it's because Adams is worried about alienating Trump voters, especially with his re-election campaign coming up. Others say it's because he's grateful to Trump for, well, reasons we won't get into here. Let's just say the words dismissed corruption charges might be involved. Whatever the reason, Adams has been walking a tightrope, trying to support congestion pricing without actually, supporting it too much. But now he's joined the lawsuit, which suggests that maybe, just maybe, he's finally ready to pick a side, or maybe he's just really, really tired of being stuck in traffic. Section 5 Hochul, Trump and Duffy, a chorus of conflicting voices. Of course, this wouldn't be a proper New York City political drama without a supporting cast of characters, each with their own agendas and opinions. First up, we have Governor Kathy Hochul, who's been a vocal supporter of congestion pricing from the get-go. She sees it as a win-win, less traffic, more money for public transportation. What's not to like? Then there's former President Trump, who, as we've established, is about as fond of congestion pricing as a cat is of a bath. He's been using his considerable social media presence to denounce the program, calling it a disaster and a war on the working class. Of course, he also once tweeted that he could shoot someone on Fifth Avenue and not lose any voters, so take his opinions with a grain of salt. Or, you know, a whole shaker. And let's not forget Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, who's been playing the role of the concerned parent, threatening to withhold federal funding from the MTA if they don't get their act together. It's all very dramatic, but hey, this is New York City. We like our drama with a side of bagels and a smear of political intrigue. Section 6, the legal battlefield, where rubber meets the road. So, what are the legal arguments at play here? Well, the lawsuit against the Trump administration hinges on the idea that the president doesn't have the authority to unilaterally overturn congestion pricing. It's a question of federal versus state power, of who gets to decide how New York City runs its streets. The Trump administration, on the other hand, argues that congestion pricing is bad for business, bad for drivers, and bad for America. They claim that it's an unnecessary burden on hard-working Americans and that it will hurt the economy. Of course, they also said the same thing about environmental regulations, so there's that. It's a complex legal battle, and it's anyone's guess how it will all shake out. But one thing's for sure, the outcome will have major implications for the future of transportation in New York City and beyond. Section 7. The stakes, more than just a traffic ticket. This lawsuit is about more than just traffic, folks. It's about the future of our cities, the health of our planet, and the very soul of New York City. If congestion pricing is struck down, it will send a clear message that cars still rule the road, that polluters will be protected, and that progress is about as likely as finding a parking spot in Midtown on a weekday afternoon. But if the lawsuit succeeds, it will be a victory for clean air, efficient transportation, and the idea that maybe, just maybe, there's a better way to get around than sitting in traffic, fuming with road rage. It will show that we can prioritize people over cars, that we can fight for a healthier future, and that even in a city as chaotic as New York, change is possible. Section 8. The political chessboard, maneuvering for position. Of course, we can't talk about this lawsuit without acknowledging the political maneuvering going on behind the scenes. Mayor Adams's decision to join the lawsuit is a calculated risk, a way to appeal to both sides of the political spectrum. He gets to look like he's standing up to Trump without actually having to say anything bad about him. It's a classic case of having your cake and eating it too, but in this case, the cake is a metaphorical representation of political expediency. Meanwhile, Governor Hochul is using the lawsuit to burnish her progressive credentials, positioning herself as a champion of the environment and public transportation. And President Trump, well, he's doing what he does best, stirring up controversy, throwing insults, and generally making everything about himself. It's a political circus, folks, and we're all just along for the ride. Section 9. The road ahead, buckle up, it's going to be a bumpy ride. So, what does the future hold for congestion pricing and the lawsuit against the Trump administration? Well, it's anyone's guess. The legal battle could drag on for months, if not years. The political landscape could shift, alliances could crumble, and new players could emerge. It's enough to make your head spin faster than a taxi driver late for a fare. But one thing's for sure. The fight for the future of transportation in New York City is far from over. So buckle up, folks, it's going to be a bumpy ride. And for the love of all that is holy, if you're in Manhattan, please consider taking the subway. Your blood pressure, your sanity, and the environment will thank you.